Welcome to this special segment of the Local Live. Full disclosure, I'm a retired teacher from Mamaroneck Public Schools. And now I'd like to welcome Rina Beder. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're currently on the board, serving your first term, and
Yes.
you're currently the secretary of the board.
Correct.
Why do you want to run again?
I actually enjoy the work. I mean, some people might laugh because it is a pretty heavy time commitment as a board member, but I find that it was a natural progression for me. When I first ran for the board back in 2016, it was a contested election, and I was asked a similar question, and my response was that I knew exactly what I was getting into. I had gone to many, many board meetings prior to serving on the board, so I understood both the opportunity of serving on the board and also the limitations of being a board member. It's given me the opportunity to serve the community in a way that I feel is impactful and important. In fact, public schools are hugely important in any community.
You're the mother of two boys.
I am. And
you're a lawyer.
Yes.
And
I like to say I'm a recovering attorney. I'm officially retired according to New York State.
Are there particular issues that are yours that you want to see addressed in your second term?
When you say yours, what do you mean? To me personally?
Yes. Do you have an issue that you really want the board or the community or the schools to focus on?
You know, one of the things about being a board member, over the summer, we sit down and we talk about what our board goals are as a group. So individually, none of us can push an individual agenda, and that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for the functioning of a board. That being said, we all have input into what we feel we want the goals of the school district to be, our own goals as a board, goals for the school district, and we work very hard on that. Now, one of my personal goals, if you want to phrase it that way, is I think that we need to do a much better job of figuring out the best ways to communicate and communicate some of our existing programs and really show the trajectory from K through 12 of what the Mamaroneck experience looks like. Because I don't think that enough people know and understand both the offerings that we have and the philosophy behind them. So I've said this, I'm currently the liaison to the Homix PTA, and one of the things I said to them at the recent meeting was, let's work together and figure out, the best way to do this. I need to hear from you what you want to hear and where you want to hear it. Because unfortunately, attendance at our board meetings is rather low unless there's a hot button issue. And how can we improve upon that? And that's important to me.
So communicating the strengths of the district, obviously.
And also the areas where we feel we need to improve.
Do you want to identify one or two of those areas?
Well,
communication, you mentioned.
Well, communication, and I think the communication part is twofold. You can put a lot of information out there, but if nobody reads it, it's the same thing if a tree falls in the forest. So, what can we do better? How can we get the information out there? What sort of forums would people like to have? So they feel as if they're learning. They're both learning and giving us feedback.
Other than your prior experience on the board, are there any other particular skills that you bring to your candidacy?
Well, as you said, I'm an attorney. I worked in private practice for about 5.5 years. I was an environmental and land use attorney. Then I came to work for the state of New York and worked in the area of affordable housing. And I did some lobbying at that point. I went up to the governor's office. They ship out some attorneys periodically to work in the governor's office and review legislation because they're just swamped with bills at the end of session. So I did that. And I've carried that over even when I was not on the board. I was the legislative liaison for PT Council. So I tracked legislation. I was engaged in lobbying efforts, especially when the tax cap came into being. Had conversations with George, with Susie Oppenheimer, the senator at the time, and I love that type of work, and I've been able to build on that.
We haven't mentioned it, but you're endorsed by the school selection committee, the school board selection committee.
Yes.
That means a lot in this community. Yes.
Thank you.
It's an organization that's been around for many years.
Yeah, thank you. They require even incumbents to submit an application, so we have to go through the same process as everybody else. We have to submit 3 references and then be interviewed by the 24-member selection committee.
Okay. We want to remind everybody that the vote for the budget and board candidates is
On, yes, is this coming Tuesday.
May 21st.
May 21st. So please get out there and vote on both the school board election and the budget.
Rina Beder, thank you so much for coming down tonight.
Thank you very much.